Today we confront an idea that is both simple and profound. Our biggest enemy is not out there in the world, but within us. It is our own uncontrollable mind. Let us take a deep dive into this concept, because understanding the nature of the mind and learning to guide it may be the most significant journey any of us ever undertake. The human mind is extraordinary. It's capable of creating ideas, solving problems, dreaming of the future, and finding meaning in our experiences. The mind, when working in harmony with our intentions, can be our most powerful ally. Yet, the mind can also become our greatest adversary, leading us into worry, stress, confusion, and fear. It can create obstacles that hinder our growth and happiness, shaping our reality in ways that can be deeply destructive. This is why many spiritual teachings and philosophical traditions describe the mind as a wild horse or a monkey of force that must be trained and guided if we want to live with peace and purpose. So what does it mean to have an uncontrollable mind? To understand this, let's examine the mind's tendencies and patterns. The human mind is naturally inclined toward overthinking. It dwells on the past, repeatedly analyzing things that have already happened, and it leaps into the future, worrying about what might happen. The mind creates stories, assumptions, and predictions, filling our consciousness with a flood of thoughts that are often negative or exaggerated. This relentless stream of thoughts can trap us in cycles of worry, guilt, anger, and doubt. These emotions, fueled by uncontrolled thoughts, shape how we see ourselves, others, and the world around us. In this way, the mind can become our biggest obstacle, a source of unnecessary suffering that blocks us from reaching our full potential. Imagine a person who is constantly replaying past mistakes. Perhaps they are haunted by something they said in a moment of anger or a choice they regret. They go over it again and again, wondering how they could have done things differently or feeling shame that they cannot erase. With each replay, their mind digs deeper into this story, convincing them that they are defined by that moment. Or consider someone who has experienced failure in their career. Their mind continuously replays the failure, amplifying it until it becomes all-consuming. This person starts to see themselves as a failure, feeling that no amount of effort will ever change this truth. In both cases, the uncontrollable mind has trapped these people in a prison of their own thoughts, holding them back from moving forward and living fully. This uncontrollable mind is, in essence, our greatest enemy, because it can distort our perceptions and lead us to believe things about ourselves and our lives that are simply not true. Left unchecked, the mind can convince us that we are unworthy, that our dreams are unattainable, or that the world is against us. For example, someone struggling with social anxiety might walk into a room and immediately think, everyone is judging me. Their mind fills with worry, self-criticism, and fear, even if there is no evidence to support this thought. But because the mind has imagined this scenario, they react to it as if it were real, withdrawing, avoiding eye contact, and feeling intensely uncomfortable. The mind has created a barrier between them and the world, shaping their experience based on a false perception. But why does the mind behave this way? Why does it create thoughts that can make us suffer? One reason is that the mind is wired for survival, not happiness. In our evolutionary past, this tendency to think of threats, analyze problems, and anticipate danger helped us survive. Our ancestors had to be vigilant to survive, and so the mind developed a bias toward caution and negative thinking. This mindset was useful when we were constantly facing physical threats, but in the modern world, these same patterns often cause more harm than good. Instead of helping us, they keep us stuck in cycles of worry, doubt, and stress, reacting to perceived threats that are often psychological rather than physical. Another reason the mind becomes uncontrollable is that it lacks discipline and training. Most of us were never taught how to manage our thoughts or understand our emotions. We are taught many things in school: how to solve math problems, how to analyze literature, how to follow rules, but we are rarely taught how to deal with our minds. As a result, many people live at the mercy of their thoughts, reacting impulsively to whatever their mind throws at them. It's as if we are in a boat, tossed around by waves, with no one at the helm steering us toward a destination. One powerful example of the mind's impact on our lives is procrastination. We often put off tasks that are important to us, not because we lack ability, but because our mind convinces us that the task is too hard, that we might fail, or that there will be a better time in the future. For instance, a writer with a passion for storytelling might delay starting their novel because their mind fills them with self-doubt. What if no one likes it? What if I run out of ideas? These thoughts paralyze them, keeping them from pursuing their dream, all because they are controlled by a fearful mind rather than a conscious intention. So, if the mind is so powerful and potentially destructive, how do we begin to tame it? How do we transform this inner enemy into a friend? The answer lies in three key practices: mindfulness, self-awareness, and discipline. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing our full attention to the present moment, noticing our thoughts without becoming entangled in them. Mindfulness gives us a tool to step back and observe our thoughts objectively, as though we're watching clouds float by in the sky. Through mindfulness, we learn to see our thoughts as temporary and separate from who we are. Imagine sitting in traffic and feeling the rise of frustration. Through mindfulness, instead of reacting immediately, you notice the thought, "I'm angry that this is happening." You observe the feeling without judgment. In this phase, you gain a choice to let the feeling pass without it affecting your peace. Practicing mindfulness consistently allows us to become more aware of the patterns in our thinking. We start to notice how our mind often exaggerates problems, how it clings to fears, and how it revisits regrets. By simply observing these patterns, we begin to weaken their hold on us. We start to see our thoughts as just that, thoughts, not facts. This practice is free, for it reminds us that we are not our thoughts and that we can let them pass without letting them control us. Self-awareness, meanwhile, is the deeper understanding of ourselves, our values, our fears, our triggers, and our habits. When we are self-aware, we understand the beliefs and stories that drive our behavior. For example, if someone struggles with feelings of inadequacy, self-awareness allows them to trace this feeling to its roots. Perhaps they were criticized harshly as a child, and this left a lasting impression on their self-image. By becoming aware of this pattern, they can work to rewrite their inner narrative, reminding themselves that they are capable, worthy, and deserving of respect. Discipline is the practice that reinforces these changes. Training the mind requires daily effort, patience, and commitment. Just as we build physical strength by exercising consistently, we build mental strength by practicing mindfulness and self-awareness regularly. Discipline helps us develop resilience, which is the ability to stay calm and centered even in challenging situations. Imagine an athlete who trains every day, pushing through discomfort to build strength and endurance. In the same way, we can train our minds to become focused, calm, and resilient. For instance, let's consider someone who practices meditation each day. At first, they might struggle to sit still, their mind racing with thoughts, worries, and distractions. But with time, their discipline pays off. They start to notice a sense of peace and clarity that wasn't there before. When challenges arise, they find themselves responding with calmness instead of reacting impulsively. Through discipline, they have transformed their mind into a tool that serves them, rather than an enemy that controls them. We must also remember that taming the mind is not a one-time achievement, but an ongoing journey. Life will continue to bring challenges, and our mind will continue to create thoughts that may be unhelpful or unsettling. But with mindfulness, self-awareness, and discipline, we develop the inner strength to navigate these challenges with grace and wisdom. We learn to steer our mind rather than being steered by it, gaining control over our lives, our decisions, and ultimately our happiness. Let me conclude by reminding us all the uncontrollable mind may be our greatest enemy, but it also holds the potential to be our greatest ally. With dedication and practice, we can learn to guide our mind, transforming it from a source of suffering into a source of wisdom, creativity, and joy. The journey to tame the mind is not easy, and it requires patience, courage, and resilience. But the rewards are profound, for in gaining control over our mind, we gain control over our destiny. Thank you.